Dear students, today we will discuss about the Red Fort. In India, there are two Red Forts. One in Agra, which was built by Akbar the Great, who ruled from 1556 to 1605. And Akbar used to rule, govern, administer from the Red Fort of Agra. The second Red Fort is in Delhi, which was built by Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan ruled from 1627 to 1658. And Red Fort of Delhi remained his capital, and from here he used to govern the country. Recently, on 26th of January, some Sikh youths unfurled the Nishan Sahib at Red Fort of Delhi. And it again came in the news. By tradition, on the Republic Day, 26th of January, the President of India unfurled the flag from the Janpath. And on 15th August, Independence Day, Prime Minister of India unfurled the flag from the Red Fort of Delhi. Before the 13th century, Delhi or Delhi was politically speaking a moderately significant town. It was for long the capital of the kingdom of the Rajput dynasty. By the middle of the 12th century, it was conquered by the Rajput Chauhans, Prithviraj Chauhan, who ruled earlier from Ajmer. The conquest of the Gauris in the late 12th century that put Delhi on the map as a center of power. As the capital of the Sultanate, Delhi slowly developed an aura of power in the popular imagination. It came to be associated with a dominant power in the subcontinent. Babur, having defeating Ibrahim Lodhi at Panipat in 1526, headed for Delhi, which he described as the capital of all Hindustan. Lodhis had ruled from Agra for the previous 2 decades. Now, Delhi consists of 7 towns built by the 7 different kings of the different dynasties from time to time, in between the 1206 to 1526, that is during the period of the Delhi Sultanate. And these towns are: Qutbuddin Aibak built the Qila Rai Pathora. Then Alauddin Khilji built the town of Siri. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq built the town of Tughlaqabad. Muhammad bin Tughlaq built the town of Jahanpana. Firoz Shah Tughlaq built the town of Firoz Shah Kotla. Khizr Khan built the town of Khizrabad. Mubarak Shah built the town of Mubarakabad. The combination of these 7 towns is Delhi, which even nowadays is a capital of India. In 1911, British in the modern times made it its capital. And in 1932, the New Delhi was created. So let's go back to the history. During the 1st century or so, the Mughal rule, Agra was the capital for longer than Delhi. Mughals continue to be seen as rulers of Delhi. A Sanskrit inscription from 1607 refers to Akbar as Dillishwara, the Lord of Delhi. Though he had ruled from Delhi for a very short time, in a Persian inscription dated 1621 on the Salimgarh bridge adjoining the Red Fort, Jahangir, who never ruled from Delhi, was described as Shahenshah Delhi, the Emperor of Delhi. It was only in the period of Shah Jahan that the Mughals' connection to Delhi was given a concrete form. With the founding of the city of Shah Jahanabad in 1638 and the inauguration of its palace citadel, the Red Fort, in 1648, from the date to the end of the Mughal rule in 1857, Delhi would be the formal capital of the Mughal Empire. The significance of Delhi and the Red Fort was thrown into sharp relief by the political developments in the 18th century. Once the Mughal Empire started on the long road to decline, Mughal provinces such as Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad broke away, and new forces like the Sikhs and the Marathas arose. Not only did the Mughal territories shrink, the Mughal emperor became increasingly ineffectual even within them. Such was his symbolic significance as the source of legitimate sovereign authority that many of these new states, including a newcomer, the East India Company, continued to rule in his name and to issue coins in his name until well into the 19th century. One of the Maratha Peshwa, Bajirao I, used to say, "Let us struck at the trunk of the withering tree, the branches will fall off automatically." He was hinting towards the rulers of Delhi. One of the rulers of Delhi ruled from 1719 to 1748, that is Muhammad Shah. He was so much involved in the luxuries that historians called him the Muhammad Shah Rangila. These were the signs of the decline of the Mughal Empire. The control of over the emperor and Delhi was therefore a prize worth fighting for. Safdarjung, the Nawab of Awadh, fought a civil war in an attempt to keep his position as Prime Minister of the Mughal Emperor. The Sikhs had their ambitions and came up to the walls of the city in 1783. Before retreating, the Marathas met with the greater sources the following year when Mahaji Scindia became the power behind the throne. Finally, the East India Company defeated the Maratha forces in 1803 and went on to control Delhi and the emperor for the next 54 years. Legitimate rule was associated with the Mughal emperor to the extent that when the country broke out in the revolt of 1857, the mutiny soldiers made their way to Delhi, seeking his leadership. When the revolt in Delhi had crashed, the British army occupied the Red Fort, and the officers drenched to their queen's health in the Diwan-e-Khas, where the Mughal emperor had held the court. It was in the same hall that Bahadur Shah was put on trial, convicted, and exiled to Rangoon, where he died in 1861. Nearly 90 years later, in 1945-46, the memory of the trial, another trial, historical trial in the fort, that is of the INA prisoners. The prominent among them was Shah Nawaz, Prem Sehgal, Gurdal Singh Dhillon. Their case was pleaded by the prominent lawyers of the country, that is Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, Kailash Nath Katju, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and Bhulabhai Desai. They won the case. And the INA trial is one of the very prominent trial which shaken the British government. Now, with the coming of independence, it was necessary that the site of the Red Fort, over which the British colonial government had sought to inscribe its power and might be symbolically reclaimed for the Indian people. It was for this reason that after the first hoisting of the national flag at India Gate on August 15, 1947, the next day the Prime Minister hoisted it on the ramparts of the Red Fort. This was to then became India's lasting Independence Day tradition. History books tells us that when the Sikhs made an incursion into Delhi in 1783 under their leader Baghel Singh, they turned away from the walls, not entering the city. The incident is remembered very differently in the Sikh histories. Sikh legend says that the armed Sikh occupied the Red Fort and unfurled the Nishan Sahib, demonstrating their victory over the Mughal throne. Thank you very much.